trying to move this back to the section. I just want to make sure that you've given me control there.
You should have it.
Yeah. I'm having trouble navigating. I apologize.
No worries. You were moving it earlier, so
Okay. Yep, I
here's your
was.
first slide.
Thank you. Okay. Now we've heard about why design is really important, and from Benazir on how some of the best practices can be applied to your application design. I really want to talk about some scenarios, some typical scenarios that application development teams are encountered with, and what kinds of applications to choose during those typical scenarios. And I really want to shine light on four types of applications. One being a dashboard or a visual application, and secondly, what we refer to in the web focus world as a self-service or a guided ad hoc. And I'll show you some parameters and some circumstances that typical application builders encounter, and when should you choose what kinds of applications. And the third scenario being the push reporting. When should you use Reportcaster and push reports out to your audience. And finally, when do you let your users build their own reports? Give them a data source, give them metadata that they can take and build reports on their own. So I just wanted to kind of talk about when to use and typically how would you build them. So scenario for one would be a dashboard or a visual application. So when the questions that you're trying to ask and the answers that you're trying to get to don't change significantly over time. And for example, if a regional sales manager in a company wants to understand who his top performers are, who his bottom performers are, what territory needs actions looked at a management level, things like that, then those would typically be captured in a visual application. So typically when you are building an application like this, the aggregation levels for these metrics can be predefined and it doesn't change over time. You don't have to read through information to get to the metrics of your interest. And the also once you get to your first level information, the subsequent paths are also can be predefined easily, and they also don't change over time. So how can you build something like this? You can build this using designer framework, or you can build this using App Studio, but this is most likely a developer built application. An example, I've just I have some simple examples here. Tim, I think you might have to help me with moving this.
Oops.
Yep, thank you. So an example of a dashboard or a visual application is this: a branch manager in a credit union, a branch manager in a bank is looking at transactions on a daily basis, is looking at month-to-month comparisons, what happened yesterday. And there are some cases where he has to use a tabular report. There are some cases where he has to use charts, and then where there are single dimensions, he's using widgets. So that's a simple dashboard visual application use case. Next one, please, Tim. A self-service application or a guided ad hoc. So again, so the demarcation I would like to lay here is that this is not a scenario where you allow your users to build their own reports. This is a scenario where you create the platform, allow people to sift through a lot of the dimensions, pick a lot of dimensions, customize their input variables, and customize their outputs as well, so that they can generate their own reports, and they can generate their own information. And so again, once a platform is given to them, then the reliance on IT is heavily reduced. So, and then so when customization is needed, and I'll show you an example quickly, and typically used when multiple groups of audience needs access to a similar type of source of data. So what you're seeing here from a design standpoint might look crowded, but the functionality here is pretty powerful. So you're looking at some global filters that you can pick from. you select data sources here, then you're going through available fields, and then moving, what in those available fields do you want to see on your report. You sort through those fields, descending, ascending, and then you are able to add date ranges and so on. And in addition to that, you're also able to customize your outputs, and then add in header information, add footer information, and then send it as an HTML, Excel. So all in all, I think it's a pretty complex set of needs, but really your data source is one, and this one all encompassing application allows you to not only fit this inside of one application, also allows you to not have to build multiple reports incrementally. And then you slowly have the hassle of managing that. So that's an example of a self-service application. From a push reporting, when do you use Reportcaster? When do you send out reports to an audience base? When a small number of reports are needed from the users, and you don't need them, you don't have to have them log into web focus and sift through multiple filters, multiple parameters, just to get to that one report that they ask for. So that's an example, and I keep it simple, and that's an example of how you would do this in Reportcaster. And once you understand, once the metadata is ready, the process of doing this with Reportcaster is pretty simple. As you can see, it's just almost as simple as scheduling your or creating a meeting invite on your calendar. You understand you create your fetch procedure, you prepare your metadata, then you are sending you can burst these depending on if you're sending one report to multiple candidates based on one dimension. And then now you're just setting this up on Reportcaster. Next one. So as you can see, just like a calendar invite, you can select recurrence, and you can select the repeat options. Now build your own. Now for the user defined reports and applications, when would you do this? When the user does not always know what questions he's going to be asking on a daily basis of your applications, and you want to the data structure can be prepared, the underlying data can be prepared, and to give him or her the ability to send out or prepare reports, or prepare applications, prepare dashboards on a need basis. The underlying, so the actual IT development in this case is only on the underlying data structure, and then all of the application ownership itself can be retained at a user level. Next one, Tim. So how would you do this? You're typically generating an alternate view of the master file, and taking the structures needed, taking all of the data that's needed for the user, and organizing them, which comes out to the next slide. So you organize them in folders, or a meaningful subset of fields from the original master file, and you expose just those set of master files to the user. Of course, you can apply row level security here, and the users get to use the data that's only relevant to them. So I just wanted to talk about this. So a build your own can look like this, right? Again, a very simple example of building your own. Just what Andy showed to you was from scratch. Once the metadata is ready for you, you can start to build out reports on your own, and the data is owned by the IT team, and the application is owned by the users themselves. I just wanted to show these examples of and oftentimes the process of choosing the right type of application is completely undermined. So what happens is people start to think of we've seen many examples where people start to think of one application and try to fit all their needs into that application, go very far down the line, and then realize that they should have picked maybe a self-service application, something like that.
Absolutely. Yep. And thanks, Dinesh.